Well, hello there. Well, today I'm going to be making a self-assembly version of this little toolbox. Now, if you've seen my previous two videos, I've been making toys for our grandchildren and sending them little tools to assemble them with. And obviously they need a toolbox to put all these tools in. And I also want to introduce them to a new tool, and that's a screwdriver. So it's going to be an interesting project, this. So let's get started. Right, so I've taken some measurements from this commercially available toolbox and drawn up a sort of design for it. So I need some wood. I'm going to use some offcuts of ply. This is 3mm ply for the bottom, and these are offcuts of 5mm ply, which will be used for the ends and the sides. So let's get those cut out. I've drawn it to scale, so I'm just going to cut this out and use it as a template. So I've cut out 3 pieces of wood. What I'm going to do now is just hold these pieces together using the super glue and masking tape trick. If you ever watch Ben at Crimson Guitars, you'll see him use this a lot. So a bit of super glue on there, masking tape on there, and put that like that. And that will hold that lot together while I cut it. So I'm going to use this as the template. Okay, I can just see that, so I'm going to go and cut that out and sand it down. Now, in actual fact, I've used up all the 5mm wood for the ends, so I'm going to use this 3mm for the sides and the bottom. So I'm just going to measure out 24 centimetres. The bottom is 140mm or 14 centimetres wide. So let's just cut that 14 centimetres. And then that leaves 7 centimetres, which is exactly what I need for the sides, which is really good. Excellent. Now I've cut out the bottom and the sides, and I've also cut a strip of this beech, and the idea is that that's going to be fitted onto there, probably glued onto this base, and these will then screw into the sides. And I'll repeat the process on this end as well for this end piece, like that. Well guys, I've got some exciting news. I was going to have to cut lots of pieces of wood from this to act as a batten to put the sides on. But Carolyn's been down the shed looking for canes and has discovered this beading, which is just the job. So now all I have to do is cut it to the right length. Let's get on with it. Now I just need to cut the battens for the side pieces and the end pieces. So I'm going to do that 20.6. And 13.4. I've cut the battens out of the beading. So what I'm going to be doing now is going to glue these in position. So I'm going to allow for the 3mm bottom, the base, and the 3mm sides that I'm using. So these pieces will be glued like that. So that's the end pieces. And then the bottom piece will have these 2 strips glued on the sides. And basically there'll be some holes here and the sides will be screwed in. Right, they're all glued up, so I'm going to leave these overnight now to set. Let's get on with the tools. Okay, to make the child-friendly screwdrivers, I'm going to cut the ends of these old screwdrivers off and embed them in there, but only let them stick out a very short distance. First, I'm going to mark the centre. It doesn't have to be absolutely accurate, so I'm going to judge it by eye. Looks about right. Now the shaft of this screwdriver is 5.5mm, but I'm going to use a 6mm bit and I'm going to glue this in with some epoxy. Looks okay. Just file off the burrs. Just shape the end a little bit with a belt sander. Well, both ends, and I'm pretty pleased with that. So now I'm just going to cut a bit of plastic to put over the top there, and we'll glue this in. So what I've done, I've cut a little bit of plastic tubing and I'm going to slip that over there. It's a bit loose, so I'm going to have to glue it in place, but only the tip is showing and the rest of it's sort of protected. Okay, so the wood glue is cured overnight. There's the ends, there's the bottom. Now it's a question of drilling holes to attach these side and end pieces together. I mean, effectively this is how it's going to go together. And I need some screw holes just basically to hold the whole lot in place. I'm just going to mark the position of the battens with a pencil. Then on the sides, do the same thing again. I'm drilling the holes with a 4mm brad point bit, which is the same diameter as the screws that I'll be using. And that is a really bent brad point bit. New drill bit, that's better. Here we go. Okay, so I'm just going to mark the position of the holes just by offering that up. And then using this ball to just mark it through there. I'm using some scraps of wood just to bring the workpiece up to the height of the drill. So I'm hoping I get a fairly straight hole. Let's give it a go. I'm using a 3mm bit. Let's try a test fitting. Just tighten that up. I'm going to cut the threads into the wood so it will be a lot easier for the children to screw in. Tell you what, that's a nice tight fit. That's going to be good. I'm just going to hold the side panels on with just 3 screws. I think that will be plenty. So I've got one there, and one in the middle there, and I think that's going to hold the whole lot fairly rigid and not too many screws then. So I'm just going to mark the holes for these. If you watched my previous video making the bumblebee, and if you haven't watched it, I suggest it's probably a good watch to go and have a look at. Anyway, I made some bolts using a little bit of square wood like this and these furniture screws. Now I'm going to use the same technique to make some bolts to hold the handle on the box, and then Carolyn can paint them up as ladybirds or the middle of a flower or something, and the children can screw them up with the spanner that we built for them last time. I need to make a hole for the handle bolt to go through, so I'm just checking the diameter of this little screw thing, and it is 7mm. So I'm going to cut a 7mm diameter hole in the top of there. I'm just going to mark the centre of the handle by eye. There we go. There we go. And I'll get one of these furniture screws, put a bit of wax on it, and I'm just going to screw it in to create a thread. Great. Now my little wooden bolts have cured overnight, so now they're ready to be screwed in there to hold the handle on. So that means I have two wooden toolboxes which need to be sanded and then painted. But before I do that, I need to work out how to turn these two bits of metal and this into a trowel, or two trowels should I say. Now there's a challenge. I think I've decided the best way to do this is to cut a slice off the bottom of this dowling and then actually bolt it onto the piece of metal there, and then just shape this metal round a little bit so it looks a bit neater, and obviously smooth off all the edges. Cut this handle down a bit to size. I think that's going to do the job. Now for the trowels, I found some matching curtain pole that will match the screwdrivers, so I'm going to use that instead of the wood that I had before. So I've cut them to length. These are 11 centimeters long. I'm going to run it in about 2.5 centimeters. So I'm going to cut a slice off the bottom of this now, and then we're going to see if we can bolt that to that piece of aluminium. I've made a mark 2.5 centimeters back. I've set the fence here to 1 centimeter, so I'm just going to cut that till it hits the mark. So what I've done, I've actually cut a slot in the back of this recess, and what I'm going to do is going to slide the blade in there. I'm going to put a bolt through to hold it tightly and just shape the corners of that, just round them off a little bit. I'm just going to take the rough edges off now. Now I've been chopping and changing my mind which way round to put the handle, that way or that way, and I've finally decided it's going to go on that way round, so that's going to go on there. I found this nice brass bolt which is going to go through the back of there, and I'm going to put this nut on the front, and I've drilled a hole bigger at the top there so that the nut is pulled into the hole, rather like this one that I did earlier, and I think it looks pretty good. I'm going to put a drop of super glue in the top there just to really seal that in. Well, here we are. We finished the workboxes. Karen has done some beautiful paintings on them which we've protected with lacquer, so They should stay nice for a long while. There we go. That's one. There's the other one. The ladybird bolts are all in place. The tools are inside. Screwdriver and a trowel. What I'm going to do now is take them apart so that the children can put them together themselves, because I think that's part of the fun. I've had a lot of fun making these, and so has Carolyn. Enjoyed painting them. We just hope the children have as much fun as we did. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you like this sort of content, please hit subscribe, and I'll see you next time.